Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. To recap where we left off last time, we had a diplomatic meeting with Adam Taurus and Blake Belladonna, and we would later go on to make Blake one of our court members. Which means that the only main Ruby girl that we have left to recruit is Weiss. So, let's dive right back in. Ospen and Glinda take me outside to the city to the isolated temple where the major portals reside, the Curia. We're escorted by a squadron of the Castle Guard, all on horseback. Yang and I ride on our dragons, of course, drawing attention as we go. Chalika is in a good mood, but that means different things for sand dragons, especially wild ones. I have to keep a close eye on her to make sure she doesn't snap and bite anyone who decides to ride too close. You know, we have a fine selection of mounts back at the stables. He's only teasing, but I still feel the need to defend my choice. I'm a Rose, but I'm also a Xiaolong. The good luck pendant rests underneath my armor, kept on a leather cord around my neck. I think it'd be good if people remembered that. I need a reminder myself now and then. Twisting her neck back to look me in the eye, Chalika squawks at me. Her gait doesn't waver. Look where you're going, silly. Chalika chirps and straightens out, neck ruffles frilling out in a gesture I've come to associate with happiness. This is the most exercise they've gotten in a while. Both dragons are just as eager to explore the world as their master is. Just be careful not to run around the city in your robes. Why not? Think of what a good angle that is to spin, the romance of a lost princess, you know. We need to take way more advantage of that. Ruby could play like she attained enlightenment out in the wilds or something. People eat that stuff up. That might also ruffle the feathers of more than a few conservatives. It's just a thought. Well, I would like to improve relations between Vale and the tribes. Considering you and I know them pretty well, we might be in a good place to merge them into the Summer Rose Court. What is the Summer Rose Court anyway? Representatives from each plane, including ours. It's to ease communications between the planes, to strengthen ourselves as their allies. When Ruby's parents were still alive, they had a council of their own. Those who weren't lost in the attack broke away into separate factions. But the Xiaolongs have been isolated from us for much longer than that. Taiyong was a court member once, you know. Dad? Really? Yeah, but not for very long. He tried merging the Xiaolongs and the Roses many, many times. Finally, he got frustrated and left. How come he never told me about any of this? Well, it was before we were born. His disinterest in the court is what made his tribe such an attractive place to hide you, Ruby. He did a good job. The day I found you was not the first attempt I'd made to search the deserts for the last Rose heir. What made you decide to come back one more time? A hunch, though you could have been anywhere. All we knew was that you were alive. That was it. You weren't fully attuned to the throne, but it still wanted you, no one else. It told me as much. Crescent Rose spoke to you? What? No. He pauses. Of course not. Crescent Rose is just what we call the power that rests in our plane. It cannot speak. But it's impossible to deny that it sometimes appears to have a will of its own. Most of the court abandoned Vale to return to their own parts of the plane when they realized they couldn't wield Crescent Rose. Ospen was the only one crazy enough to try. That's a lot to take in. The only remaining court members are Glinda, Crow, and myself. So really just Ospen and I. That will change soon. Rebuilding the court will give us strength again. I hope. I echo the sentiment privately. The sky darkens as we arrive, clouds gathering thick enough to block out the sun. Yang keeps glancing up, forehead wrinkling with displeasure. Looks like it's gonna rain again. I know, I can smell it in the air. Makes me nervous. The dragons might get sick if we push them through another storm like we did on the way here. I rub Chalika's neck, feeling her thick muscles roll under my hand. They'll be taken care of while we're inside, right? Of course. Are you ready, Ruby? Nodding my affirmation, I slide from my saddle. Oh, accidentally skipped that by accident. Like Beacon, the exterior is protected by stone walls, but the material is different. The white walls of my kingdom are all cut from the same quarries, but these are dense and gray. What's more, there aren't any seams in its construction. It makes me pause before I steer my dragon closer to put a hand on the flat surface. It's completely smooth. One solid piece. Very astute, Ruby. So it's a big wall. What's so great about it? Beacons are taller. Glinda makes a small noise of disgust, but refrains from commenting. Yang tightens her grip on the reins to look around. There doesn't seem to be a gate. What are we supposed to do? Fly in? They're deciding whether to let us in. And if they don't? Ozpin doesn't answer. Don't be silly, Yang. They're expecting us. Then I turn to Glinda. They made this with magic, right? And no small amount of engineering knowledge. I wonder how quick it is to make a wall out of magic. Are they stronger than our walls? Or do the wizards not rely on them too much since everyone on the inside is capable of repelling a grim attack? We should look into making more fortifications like this within the city. I mean, if they'll let us. We'll see about asking them. They were happy to enchant most of our weapons, so further collaborations between us shouldn't be too difficult to engineer. A low rumbling sound distracts us. I notice a thin black line dividing some of the stones where none had been before. It becomes more defined as the noise increases in volume. Taking a few steps back, I realize that the doors had been there the whole time. Swinging on unseen hinges, the walls part and we can see inside. There's a courtyard not too much farther in. People, movement, activity. Guess that means come in. Glinda instructs the guards who came with us to remain outside. Only Yang, Ozpin, Glinda, and I are allowed in. It's very quiet inside the Curia. The only people is the sound of hooves cluttering and claws scrapping as we enter. The enclosure is huge. I even spot some greenhouses and what looks to be a plot of land for gardening much further in, with wizards silently at work. Ah, home. Try not to break anything, Rose. Even the floor is made of that same gray stone, though as we all move further in, I notice a carefully maintained amount of greenery as well. I don't notice any children. The youngest person seems to be an apprentice around my age, running across the enclosure doing errands. A wizard comes to greet us, his lips thinly sealed into a frown. Glinda raises her hand in greeting, a bright light appearing on her palm. He mirrors it. The two wizards stand like that for a few seconds, then she moves aside, folding her hands behind her back. Ozpin takes that as his cue to step in. We're here to speak to the Archmage. It's time to make another attempt. I swallow, throat tight. The wizard just nods, gesturing for us to wait. On the perimeter, I spot buildings, all of them fused into the main wall like small buds. The center of the enclosure is kept clear, except for the portals themselves. Wow. Whoa, look at that. I'd seen trade portals before, arches made of metal and stone, smooth and seamless just like these walls. They exist outside the Curia, halfway points between here and Beacon. Oh, that looks like Weiss's. Wren's. Pura's. We might have missed Nora's. I'd seen trade portals before, arches made of metal and stone, smooth and seamless just like these walls. They exist outside the Curia, halfway points between here and Beacon. We had passed a few such places on our way here. Those were always busy and moving, with magic humming alive in the air as goods were transported to and fro between planes. But they were nothing compared to these. You've never seen them before? I shake my head. Just drawings. My parents never took me here. There are 5 major portals in total. They each have a name and a story. These are sacred things. They need to be protected, guarded. Only Rose Monarchs and Curia members are allowed to see them dormant. They are ancient, out of place among the obviously more modern walls. When humanity found them, we studied them until we gained the tools necessary to build our own. The lesser portals. But those are still incapable of transporting people, until the major ones become activated. Speaking of which, 2 of the 5 are in complete disrepair. Yang nods over to them as we wait. What's up with those? Oh. I couldn't catch the other one that we passed. But this one, I don't know what's behind this one. Kind of looks like Grim. Broken portals to planes we no longer have access to. How come? I look to Ozpin, who merely smiles at me. Why don't you tell Yang what you remember, and I'll fill in any gaps. Well, I know one was intentionally sealed off. According to the legend, everything started here, the conflict that shattered our planes. We don't know for sure who or what is on the other side, but since it has such an ugly history, They call it the Scar. It had another name, a more formal one. I rack my brain, wishing Ozpin would step in. He seems far too amused at my attempt at a history lesson. Luna Fracta? Very good, Ruby. Yang nods thoughtfully, then she points to the other one, tilting her head in silent question. Now this one looks like Norse related, so this might be Nora's. She points to the other one, tilting her head in a silent question. That one's the coolest. As a girl, I read about it all the time. Nobody knows what it is. It's been broken for as long as anyone can remember. And now all we have are guesses and theories as to what happened. Yep. They call it Magenhild. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. I'm sorry if that's pronounced wrongly. Handlers come to take our mounts. After a lengthy amount of instruction from Yang, they promise to ensure the dragons are kept in the driest environment possible. The threat of oncoming rain makes the air more humid than usual. I'm glad to see some of the younger wizards whispering fire into the air around our dragons to keep them warm and dry. And then there are the other three. This is definitely Weiss. Mertenaster is the other portal that goes to Michglas. They've got some of the greatest engineers in existence. Not to mention their mage knights have remarkable precision and control over dust in combat. I think this is the first time we've heard dust mentioned in the story. Who has enough dust to waste in a fight? They do. And Lanzihua. It's hard to know, but I'm pretty sure that's the English spelling of Chinese characters. I myself am Chinese, so I'm trying to think of how it would be actually pronounced. Lanzihua? I think that's how you say it, yeah. Lanzihua. I know that, I'm gonna guess because in Chinese, hua means flower, and I'm not sure what lanzi means, but it might be lotus. So maybe these three words means lotus flower. I point to a bright green portal and the one made with jade, ebony, ancient teak, redwood, and gold. It leads to Heping? At a loss again, I beseech Ozpin with my eyes. Heping? That plane is a lot like ours, but the people are theocratic, kinda, so we probably need to get one of their dragon monks to join the Summer Rose Court if we're gonna be friends. We'll send them several of our mages in exchange. Sounds like a piece of cake. If they have dragons, we've already got plenty in common. We'll need them if the grim threat gets any worse. The dragons? The monks. And lastly but not least, oh, dang it. Ozpin? Tokuin. Right. That. Tokuin is the portal that leads to Spiritus Bellatorum. They're sort of odd in that they have no magic at all. Like none. It just goes poof when you try to do it. Poof? Poof. So we need them because their fighters are really formidable. And on top of that, they've always been friendly. Getting their help should be the easiest, but almost all communication with them ended about 2 years ago. Really? Last we heard, they were in the depths of civil war. Communication staggered and then slowly stopped altogether. As for the other two planes, well, Glinda, how did you put it? They've grown bitter and cold to us after a near decade of no human contact, and their isolated cultures in general, not very trusting. Yep, there you go. And now we're going to open one of them. This is so cool! There has already been some correspondence between us and the other planes. They should be aware that the major portals would be active again. What about the portals to each other? There are none. Vale is a hub. Travel to the other planes is only possible from here. Once we make an attempt, the reverberation will travel across temporal space to, I I step in to translate. The planes are our neighbors and they're expecting us. There's a door on our end, then a hallway, and a door on their end. Now we're gonna knock on our door and let them know that we want them to open their door, so we can go across the hallway that only appears when both doors are open. Nice. Ugh. Of course. So, which one shall we open first? Okay, sounds like a good point to save. Keep in mind that it will remain open until you decide to close it. And that opening, or sealing, a portal will drain you mentally and physically. I know, I'm still considering which choice is the best one to make. Then, until you do, we'll begin preparations for the ceremony. Flanked by Glinda and Ozpin, I step closer to the area where the portals are kept. One of the wizards joins us, a crystal blade clutched tightly in his hand. Slowly, more wizards approach, forming a semicircle around me, humming words for entry, for distance, for doors. I realize at that moment that I haven't heard a single one of them make a sound that wasn't a spell. The wizards who had greeted Glinda takes a spool of white yarn from within his sleeves, twining it 3 times around my left wrist. And then another one approaches with the knife. I back away. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why does everything involve my blood? Your link to Crescent Rose is by virtue of your blood. It will only take a drop. That's what you always say. The mage nods, pricking the back of my hand with the point of the knife. Even if it's a small cut, it still makes me wince. Around us, the mages begin to sing sibilant nonsense that I can't begin to translate. Glinda takes my elbow to steady me. Behind me, I hear Yang muttering something dark under her breath. The mage wipes the blade off on the thread, and the length of it shivers with power. A small speck of red bleeds into the fibers, spreading out, and until the entire length of it burns scarlet. Currently, Merton Aster is the only one we can open. Okay, alright, that makes choosing much easier. I was about to say, which one do we open first? And that could lead to a lot of unforeseen circumstances. Currently, Merton Aster is the only one we can open. Preparations aren't complete for the other 2. Well, that makes the choice easier, doesn't it? Yep. Merton Aster would be the easiest to open regardless. The connection between our plane and theirs is strongest. Then that's the one I'm doing first. Communication with that plane has been sparse as of last year. According to Torchwick, the flow of dust from them to us has almost run dry. Maybe they've been having trouble with the Grimm too. That doesn't matter. We need to reestablish trade with them and get them communicating with us again. It might be hard. Didn't the last guy they sent through, die? On the same night as my parents. Eesh. Well, between our stellar good looks and your charming, queenly nature, it should be easy, right? Keep in mind, on the return trip you will appear outside the Curia. You can control where a person winds up. Our plane doesn't approve of non-royalty or those outside the Curia gazing upon the portals. He peers at Yang over his spectacles. With a few exceptions, of course, for those closest to the Queen. Controlling where one exits also prevents potential enemies from coming through the portal directly into the heart of the Curia. I see. We'll set up a greeting party for you outside. Don't worry. You won't be zapped away to the furthest reaches of the plane. Well, probably. The mage nods and, taking his spool of yarn, begins to unravel it as he walks to the portal. Step by step, he approaches, and I see the flickering of magic begin. It buzzes and aches between my ears. By the time he reaches the portal, it's awake and alive. Around us, the mages are singing louder than ever. I'm sweating now, feeling the pressure rise in my whole body like I am that string, slowly getting stretched out further and further. It tightens around my wrist harder than shackles. He walks through the portal. The trail of red yarn is stretched taut between us. Everyone falls silent. After about 15 minutes, I feel a tug. Oh jeez. Power surges through the yarn into my body, lighting me up like a weather vane in a storm. I stand rigid, teeth grit and nostrils flaring, whole body shaking as I feel something move inside me. It travels out through the string into the glowing heat of the portal door. Next to me, I hear a whisper. Very good. Thinking it's Glinda, I lift up my bound wrist and make a questioning noise. but she doesn't respond. After a moment, I realize she's not even looking at me. Then whose voice was that? He's on his way back. 1 tug means all is fine. 2 means he needs more time. 3 is for an emergency. Just as she finishes, the mage returns in a jumble of limbs, falling to the ground and gasping. I do the same, falling back a few steps until Yang catches me. My chest rises and falls sharply with how hard I'm panting. It's done. The connection has been made. Now we can travel safely. Can I take this off? Glinda nods and Yang helps me remove the yarn from around my wrist. A group of younger apprentices helps the mage up, carting him away without another word. A bite of sympathy stings me. I think he got the worst of it. The throbbing in my skull finally lessens to a dull roar. They usually do. That's just part of the sacrifice. He's being well compensated for it, trust me. Are you ready to go through the portal, Rose? I nod. Good. I must stay on this side to watch over the gateway, at least for your first visit. And my connection to Crescent Rose still leaves me too vulnerable to travel through the portals at this time. If anything were to go wrong with the portals, we'd be better suited here. Wait, what do you mean, go wrong? Well, let's just say I need to wait for the Rose Monarch to establish contact before further work can be done. Michglas is a trusted ally. You will be treated as an honored guest, and no danger will befall you. I trust you'll be able to cope without me? I hope so. I mean, yes! One more thing. The people of Michglas are a little brusque. Meaning subtlety and tact are lost on them. Put more kindly, they tend to be very straightforward. Be brutally honest and you'll do fine. Yang and I step forward into the portal. Gah! Who the hell designed that thing? Come on, it wasn't that bad. A little weird, maybe. A little? I'm gonna be sick. At least we made it through in one piece. Thanks, Ruby. I needed the reminder that many pieces was an option. The first thing I notice when we come out of the portal is the cold. Icicles hang up from the walls nearby and the ground is completely covered in snow. This is awful. Yeah, Beacon's a little chilly compared to the desert, but this place is butt-bustingly cold. The portal is located on a training ground. A large wooden arena is off to the side. It's a pretty impressive sight. Soldiers run drills under the watchful eye of a quartermaster while knights in full plate clash in full contact duels. Most of the knights are fighting one-on-one. Polished weapons glint and glimmer, and not just from the sunlight. Glinda said that they were good at using dust. Maybe as part of the negotiations, I can get them to teach us some new tricks. The sound of ringing steel hits my ears and I turn to look. Most of the duelists have stopped to watch a group of 3 knights take on a single challenger. The lone fighter is a woman with long white hair streaming behind her. Sounds like Weiss. Her armor is bare steel, plainer than most of the other knights I can see, though there's a shimmer to it that indicates some sort of magic. All of that pales next to the fact that she's taking on all 3 opponents alone and winning. Wow. Yang, look over there. I nod over to the duel. One of the knights thrusts at the white-haired woman's head, only to get parried aside as she dances around her opponents. The 3 keep trying to flank her, but every time they move, she darts aside. She's making them attack on her terms, not theirs. She offhand twists and draws a sigil in the air. At a word, ice fires from her fingertips, trapping the feet of the opponent while she deals with the other 2. Not bad. It's not really the same as fighting a Grimm, but she's definitely better than the drunks Torchwick's got. Yeah, that's pretty low bar. Admit it, you're impressed. A soldier notices us and approaches. Your Majesty, I understand you are here to see the Duke. Yes, the Duke. Yep, exactly where we need to go. If you and your companion will wait here a moment longer, I'll take you to him. Of course. He bows and leaves. So who is this Duke anyway? It's probably better that we do this with fewer people around. If he were planning an ambush, he'd probably have more guards. Announcing Her Majesty Rubel... Alarmed, I shuffle closer to the soldier, getting up on the tips of my toes to whisper into his ear. Ahem. Her Majesty Ruby II of the Rose Dynasty, Queen of the Kingdom of Vital and surrounding territories, inheritor of the Rose Throne, defender of Vale. Taking inspiration from me, Yang grins hugely and grabs the soldier by the shirt, pulling him over to whisper her own instructions. Whisper, whisper, whisper. Her Royal Highness Yang, the 23rd of the Xiaolong Confederacy, most revered Archduchess of the Western Expanse, Queen's Champion, and all-around badass. Seriously? I knew he had to say it. It is not every day that I invite foreign royalty into my hall. It's even less common since the portal's closed. So this is the Duke. Okay. To what do I owe the pleasure? Oh shoot, what's the address for a Duke again? Your Grace is definitely for monarchs, I believe. Your lordships, that's what you would call like lords or nobles. I don't think it's your dukeness though. But yeah, that sounds totally made up. So it might be your lordship. But he is the ruler of their plane, so it might be your Grace. Do we overcompensate or go low or just... No. Your Grace? Your Grace, it has been too long. I can't remember the last time our courts had the chance to meet. A little under 10 years. Okay, so I guess that's the right one. The portal's closing made communication difficult. I had heard of your coronation, but I'll admit I was not expecting the new monarch to visit this quickly. If we had more time, I would have sent word ahead. As it is, I know. We've had reports of the grim attacks on your borders, so let us deal with the matter at hand. You are not here to mince words. You are here for soldiers. You're here to ask me to send my people to die, so that yours may live. Let's not pretend this is anything else. Right on the nail. I'll do what I have to do. That's the brutal way to say it. I want to save our people, yes. I hope it won't come to that. With your help, we stand a good chance of stopping the Grimm, and I think maybe this time we can stop them for good. But my people can't do it on their own. If we stand together, if all the planes fight to end this now, then maybe we don't have to lose anyone else to the Grimm ever again. Unless you plan to talk the monsters to death. Honeyed words, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, and empty idealism won't help you. Oh, honeyed, I think that's it. Does that mean you won't uphold the treaty? It means I am anxious about sending my knights to serve an untried, untested, and unproven girl. Oh, yikes, scary eyes. Not that it matters. Our discussion of the terms will have to wait. There is a judicial matter that demands my attention. Can I ask what crime is more important than a visiting monarch? High treason, actually. One of my knights betrayed their sacred oaths and is about to be punished accordingly. I see. Would it be alright if we watched? I'm sure our histories are a bit dated regarding Michglas legal rights. I doubt it. Little changes in Michglas. Come, we'll have 2 monarchs deliver judgment against this traitor. If we're lucky, maybe we'll get some entertainment out of the ordeal. Yikes. Concerned, I whispered to Yang. What do you think he means by entertainment? Nothing good. Come on, we're not going to find anything out just by waiting around here. I'll be right beside you. The Duke nods to one of his attendants and the servants throws the doors to the hall open. Well-dressed nobles funnel in, taking their places around the hall. The faces I see range from sad to just plain furious. Whatever this knight did, they pissed a lot of people off. Last to arrive is a pair of guards, dragging a slumped figure between them. A chain rattles every few steps, running from the manacles around the prisoner's wrists. The guards shove their captive to the middle of the hall, sending them sprawling. The prisoner lands on two knees with a thud, a curtain of dark hair swinging forward to block any recognizable features. Dark hair. I'm not sure who that is, to be honest. All I can see is a strong jawline with a faint impression of an old bruise beneath one eye. The prisoner's gambesson is ripped, with broken straps dangling off the jacket. It looks like someone ripped the armor off and didn't bother to be careful. The prisoner straightens as far as the manacles will allow and stares calmly up at the throne, ignoring the hushed whispers of the crowd surrounding us. Looks less angry than I'd expect. Resigned is more like it. Okay, original character. All rise for His Grace Guntram of Feldberg and Her Majesty Ruby Rose of Vital. A sea of courtiers stand to face me and the Duke as we take our seats at the head of the hall. I will so never get used to that. Proceed. With respect, Your Grace, Lancelin Schaffer has... It's Weiss! The correct address for a knight is Sir. It's that knight from the training ground. She looks freshly scrubbed after her bout on the field, her hair still damp from a bath. Though surprised, the noble keeps collected in the face of this sudden interruption. Sir Schnee, this trial is based around the fact that this shepherd is no knight. Isn't it a bit early to call it a fact when your duke hasn't even passed judgment yet? The knight looks at me sharply. Exactly. And until Sir Lancelin is sentenced, you will address my knight by the proper title. Or should I take it as an insult against my own honor? I also find it most interesting that you chose to expedite the trial without informing me. I believe the trial date was supposed to be next week, no? The noble turns his nose up. Sir. He rolls his eyes, and I can almost hear the quotation marks around the word. Sir Schnee bristles, and her hand tightens on her hilt, but she keeps her silence. Lancelin stands accused of falsifying a noble lineage, that they, a commoner, had notions above their station and tried to falsely claim the honor of a true-born knight. This commoner deceived the knight commander, their comrades, and your grace. For that alone, any of our knights would be stripped of their title. As it is... You have made your point, magistrate. Be seated. Do you have anything to say in your defense, Lancelin? No, your grace. Only that I did what I had to do so I could serve my plane. Sir Schnee? Sir Lancelin is as good as any I've trained, and loyal to a fault. They deserve a knighthood as much as the rest of my troops. If only that were true. Ask for an explanation. Why does it matter that Sir Lancelin, why does the title matter? Only nobility are allowed to earn knighthood. Why? If someone's a good fighter, wouldn't it be better to have them protecting you? The noble families are sworn to me for a reason. They've proven their worth time and time again. More importantly, they know that if any member of their house betrays the crown, the entire family will be exiled and their rank given to someone more worthy. It's pretty severe. It tends to keep them in line. That does sound effective. As a commoner, this person has no reason to be trusted, especially after what they've done. Lancelin Schaefer. Schaefer or Schaffer? Might be Schaefer. You deceived your fellow knights and this court to achieve your own desires. Your actions broke the trust placed in you, your peers, and your commanding officer. That alone makes you a disgrace to the knights who have gone before you. Yours is an honorable ambition. I'd even call it a valorous one, but it is not your place to wish for such an honor. Therefore, I hereby banish you from this court to die in the frozen wastes beyond our borders. Yeesh. Your Grace. Silence. I am not without reason. Lancelin, you will be taken to the Hall of Judgment. There you will face one of our guardians of old in trial by combat. In the unlikely event that you win, I will give you your shield. Lose, and whatever is left of your mangled body will be exiled. You wanted to be a knight. This is your one chance. Suddenly, Sir Schnee stands up, bristling with barely restrained fury. I invoke my right as Lancelin's commander. No, commander. Hold your tongue. Your Grace, Sir Lancelin's crime happened under my command. I am responsible for my knights, and I will fight in their stead. Sir Schnee, I hope you know that if you lose, you both will share the same fate. I do. I suppose it is your choice to make. Take them. A cadre of guards escort Lancelin away. I can see them try to reach out to Sir Schnee one last time, a look of beseechment shining bright in their eyes. Turning her head aside, the knight commander pays them no mind. She marches out of the hall, several of her knights rising to follow her. We move into the corridor leading to the Hall of Judgment. 2 huge and armored knights escort Sir Schnee at the front of the crowd, one on each side. The Duke and his entourage of old nobles follow after them, silent as the grave. Sir Lancelin trudges along behind, the rattling shackles at their wrists a grim punctuation to every step. Do they all have to be so quiet? Yang and I bring up the rear, followed by the knights supposedly under the Duke's command. I think they want to support Sir Lancelin and Sir Schnee more, though. Sir Schnee doesn't look afraid at all, right? Look, Sir Lancelin's over there, more scared than Sir Schnee is. I hide a wince and jab Yang with an elbow. It's Schnee, Yang. Ah ha ha. Common inside joke. Oh, geez, sorry about that. These names are a little hard to say. A tense silence settles again, and we're led further down. The hallway splits, and Sir Schnee is immediately shuffled to the right while the rest of us are herded to the left. This all seems too sudden. My mouth opens as I turn my head to follow Sir Schnee's path. Wait, Sir Schnee! The three knights stop and turn to look at me over their shoulders. Sir Schnee's expression is one of expectation, maybe a little impatience too, or annoyance at being stopped. I swallow my words at first. After I take a deep breath to steady myself, I manage to continue. Don't die. Good luck out there. Remain silent. I feel like if we say don't die, she's just going to be like, ugh, as if I would. This will probably be answered with a rebuttal as well. And we've already gotten her attention, so we might as well say something. Good luck out there. Good luck out there. Uh-oh. Sir Schnee stares at me for a few seconds as if processing my words before she gives me a scowl. She turns her head, huffing, and steps a little quicker as her escorting knights start bullying her back down the hall. Huh? The silence that follows makes me wish I hadn't said anything at all. Maybe I shouldn't. Had this been any other occasion, calling a knight's skills into questions like that would be a grave offense, Your Majesty. Oops. Yeah, should have said nothing. The Hall of Judgment looks more like a grand cathedral than any kind of court. The ceiling looms high above us, its massive glass dome covered in a thick coat of frost. Arched windows of stained glass frame the room on either side, running its length from left to right. They seem to depict various parts of a grim tale. I see a girl with black hair and a regal gown taken into the woods by a huntress. The next window showcases this same girl rescued by 7 knights in intricate armor, their pauldrons adorned with a crest in the shape of a snowflake. 7 dwarves, 7 knights. The next image that catches my eye looks like a woman with gnarled antlers and the outline of a crown above her head. Her skin is a dark red, blood maybe, and she wears a pitch black robe. Her thin hand extends an apple to the girl. Some old legend, perhaps? A sudden blinding pain stabs me right between the eyes. I feel them begin to water, my entire body trembling as if my bones were trying to rip their way out from beneath my skin. I stumble, my heart pounds in my ears, deafening me to silence. I cannot scream. My blood is fire. A voice I've never heard breathes into the shell of my ear, dripping venom with every word. Not a legend, a falsehood. Interesting. Ruby? A warm hand clamps onto my shoulder, fingers calloused and grip firm. Yang's voice brings me back to my senses. Yes? Looking away from the windows helps me recover, grounds me in the here and now. You looked weird. You okay? My crown has never felt heavier. Yes, I'm fine. Just hearing voices. I think I might collapse. When Yang takes her hand back, I fight not to wobble on my feet. If you say so. A visiting queen does not vomit on allied nobles, Ruby. Get a grip. Keeping my gaze low, I shake my head and busy myself with studying the rest of the chamber. The room is an oval, everything inside chiseled from black marble. We're ushered towards rows of seats. The arrangement seems to adhere to our rank. I sit at the highest tier with Yang and the Duke. Perks of being a queen, I suppose. From my vantage point, I make out what looks like a raised platform and an orchestra pit? People in black and white robes file into the pit and onto the choral platform just above. They wear cold masks, featureless but somehow familiar. Yang leans close to me, muttering in my ear. They kind of look like the wizards back home, don't they? You think so too, huh? Each member of the choir hums in perfect harmony. I don't understand a word of it. Their music is different from anything I've ever heard before, equal parts haunting and joyful, a far cry from the wild tempos and fast-paced drums of the Xiaolong tribe. As they sing, something strange begins to happen. Is that light? Motes of soft white luminescence rises from their lips, drifting aimlessly upwards, like fireflies, almost. Oh, wow. So the magic on Michglas is language-based too? Correct, Your Majesty. Unlike Vale's language, our mystical tongue is far more of a challenge to learn. Bleh, bleh, bleh. I detect a strong note of patriotic pride in his voice, and I almost pout at him. In what way? You'll see in a moment. Without saying a word, not even an introduction, the stern-faced conductor turns to us. The room goes quiet. After bowing to the audience, they turn around and regard both choir and orchestra for a handful of tense moments. This is the oddest trial by combat I've ever seen. A sudden flick of the wrist sends a shower of golden sparks rushing towards the dome above us. The entire room goes pitch black, air resonating with the sound of low and steady hums. I feel Yang tense up next to me. A moment later, Sir Schnee takes center stage. The look on her face is one of absolute determination. She stands without moving, the subtle cant of her head casting a dramatic shadow across the sharp, regal lines of her face. Though the penalty issued is death, you have chosen trial by combat in lieu of requesting a formal stay of execution. Is this correct, Knight Commander? Yes. Should you fail, both yourself and Lancelin must forfeit your lives. Is this understood? Ice-blue eyes stare into the darkness. Her lips move, but none of us hear what she says. Excuse me? Her blade hums as she unsheaths it from her belt. Sir Lancelin. In the light, both woman and weapon shine. Her hair seems to glow, silver, the dark of her eyelashes in stark contrast against her pale skin. Insult one of my knights again, only if you wish to join me in the arena. An undercurrent of whispers flies through the assembly. Though the announcing noble is full of bluster and righteous indignation, a gesture from the Duke quiets the crowd. Begin. Then some hidden cue inspires every violin and cello to action. Several voices within the choir also shift to a higher pitch, holding the note while a shaft of brilliant white light flares into existence before us. The orchestra and choir swell at his command. The music they create radiates out in palpable waves. I still can't understand a word of it, but how it hits us feels different somehow, more electric. Are they gonna summon a large knight for her to fight? Because that'd be pretty cool. I lean over and whisper to Yang, but where's her opponent? I look in time to catch Sir Schnee bow to the dark. As she does, the circle of light at her feet begins to extend, stretching from where she's standing until it joins another at the far end of the platform. Yang's hand covers my mouth as I gasp. The new source of light reveals an armored figure kneeling in wait before the Knight Commander. It is... What in the world? Yep. That is pretty cool. Sir Schnee is dwarfed several times over as the figure stands to its full height. The handle of the sword is bigger than she is. This is what they mean by trial by combat? How's he even gonna move? At that size, an entire suit of armor would have to weigh hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. The knight shall carry out its task without fault. Of that, there is no question. I don't understand. So another knight fights Sir Schnee for the kingdom while she's defending the life of a different knight from the kingdom? No. There's no one in the suit. What? It's magic. It's a giant empty suit of armor, powered by the singer's magic. On an entirely technical scale, this is amazing. I bite my lip. I have a bad feeling about this. So it's her versus, what, your entire falsetto goon squad? Yang. Out of the corner of my eye, I see the Knight Commander bow to her opponent. Sir Schnee knew full well what risks awaited her. The knight gives no warning before attacking. Fast. Spinning on a heel, it lashes out with an overhead chop slanted directly at Sir Schnee. There's no hesitance behind the movement, only every intent to kill. Its weapon is a blur. I can't watch this. The Knight Commander, however, has a look of supreme disinterest on her face. Of course. She waits until the last moment to dodge, somersaulting backward to avoid her opponent's first blow. Yeah, that's it. The knight reverses its grip without stopping. Even removed as I am from the action, the sheer power behind its next attack slaps me in the face with a gust of wind. How can it move like that? Horrified, I realize the next move isn't going to be as fortunate for Schnee. Although Schnee dodges its second and third blows, a quick snap of a fourth sends her flying backward in a shower of sparks. That did not look pretty. At least she landed on her feet. I'm amazed the Knight Commander hasn't been launched through the far wall. Is that the best you can do? Schnee raises her weapon to the opponent. The rapier gleams in the light. When she rushes forth to attack, its reflection is like quicksilver whistling through the air. I've met novices with better form. Her first strike takes the massive figure just as it raises its weapon. A blast of magic shoots forward from the tip of her sword, knocking the figure back. Unbalanced, it stumbles into an attempt to escape the multitude of thrusts. Schnee rains down on it. Nice! Schnee wastes no time in pressing her advantage. As the knight falters, she leaps between its arms and vaults from its chest in a graceful backward arc. The woman is a blur of white and silver on the stage. Her sigil allows her to strike anywhere and from every direction. She ravages the knight, striking it until it stumbles unbalanced from foot to foot. Once, twice, thrice. Her rapier sings nearly 5 times in an instant, each blow sending white-hot sparks flaring across the stage. Something that big won't go down easy, but even if she keeps it off balance, it isn't enough. The knight recovers just as Schnee attempts to pierce the hollow of its knee. Rather than fall, it grabs its blade in a reverse grip and tears the weapon free of the stage in an upward slash, a torrent of debris sent hurtling in every direction. Oh my. Duck! Yang moves before I do, throwing her arm in front of me the moment it happens. I expect chaos, screaming, a rush of bodies in the dark, each intent on saving themselves from the oncoming barrage of debris. But nothing comes our way, not even a pebble. You've nothing to worry over, Your Majesty. The Duke has yet to tear his eyes away from the battle. He gestures to the stage once I settle back into my seat, Yang beside me. We are well protected. I follow his gesture back to the stage. There, in the dark, I find what looks to be a faint light coursing across the edge of the battleground. Their battle is a contest of inches. For every step that Knight takes, Schnee moves 5. She refuses to engage the thing on its terms, rushing about the stage in a dizzying mix of acrobatics and footwork. I'm exhausted just looking at it. They're deadlocked if this keeps up. Something's gotta give. The knight can't match her pace. Whenever it attempts to close their distance, Schnee merely leaps out of reach and punishes it for overextending. But a single misstep is all it takes. Schnee dives headlong into the fray after unbalancing her opponent yet again, her rapier seeking fatal purchase in the space between the knight's mail and helm. No, wait! Dropping its weapon momentarily, the knight throws the unbalanced portion of its body counterclockwise. Schnee barely has enough time to brace herself. As it whirls, her opponent reclaims its dropped blade and intercepts the Knight Commander mid-dash. Yang sucks in a breath through her teeth. Though Schnee manages to land on her feet yet again, momentum carries her further backward still, the iron of her greaves screaming as they grind divots into the floor. My mouth drops at what happens next. The knight leaps through one end of the stage to the other, the sheer massive size of it cracking the onyx beneath its feet. As it drops, Schnee is dwarfed in its shadow, the massive size of the knight eclipsing her entirely. The entire room quakes from the power behind the strike. Do you think she... The stage is in ruins. When the cloud of dust clears, I see 2 giant slabs of broken onyx have risen around the knight, shards of debris still raining down from the ceiling. No one speaks. Even members of the choir have stopped their song. Oh no. I'm out of my seat before I realize I'm moving. Yang and the Duke are hot on my heels as we head down to the chamber floor. Rubble lies in sporadic piles across the marble floor, deep grooves and divots left behind where the knights fought. Just as we get to the bottom, one pile of debris shifts, revealing the sheen of armor. Schnee? More of the wreckage crumbles away, and my heart sinks to see one massive hand emerging from the destruction. The knight construct gets up on all fours as the bits of broken marble shift, revealing a small shape crumpled up underneath. Sir Schnee struggles to her hands and knees as the knight moves aside, freeing her from the debris. A gash across one eye drips blood down her face, pooling into the corner of her mouth and the crevices of her dinged and dented armor. The knight commander straightens out, stumbling away to safety before turning to face the construct. Drawing her sword once more, she lifts it, pointing at the construct. The tip of her sword wavers with an unsteady hand. Another round. She wipes her face off on her shoulder, but the cut on her face continues to bleed freely. Blinking, she licks her lips and hoarsely cries out again. I still draw breath. This fight is not over. Enough of this farce, Sir Schnee. You forget your place. Is it any wonder those under your command spit in the face of our laws and traditions? I remember my place well. It is that of a knight of Michglas, and as such I stand by my decision. I swore an oath to treat those who serve me with honor and dignity. Any punishment that would be delivered unto them should be given to me instead. So kill me. I offer my life in place of my knight. By all rights, Lancelin should not be a knight. Speak up. If Lancelin isn't a knight, then why were they sent to receive a knight's punishment? That is of no concern to you. However, since Sir Schnee is so adamant about receiving Lancelin's punishment, then I shall indulge her. You, sir, have lost the duel. As such, with all the authority of my office, I banish Weiss Schnee and Lancelin Schaefer from the kingdom. Stepping forward, he grips Weiss by her upper arm, pulling her close. He speaks lower so that only those of us on the platform can hear. Consider this a mercy, my debt to your father repaid. He lets go with a shove, raising his voice. Guards, escort these caseless out beyond our lands. I allow you to keep whatever you can carry on your back, Schnee. This is too much. I can't just stand here and let this happen. Your Grace. The nobles all turn to look at me. The Duke glares much harder than before. Sir Schnee's eyes widen in surprise, but then narrow in suspicion. Your Grace, I believe that I have a solution for your problem. It also resolves the matter that caused me to come to your plane in the first place. And what is this solution you propose, your Majesty? Since Sir Schnee is to be exiled from Michglas, I would request that she join me in Vale as a member of my court. She would not be here to cause further trouble for you, and, in doing so, you would honor our ancient agreement to have a Michglas noble on my court. You... what? No, her punishment has been decided. It must be carried out. Your Grace, my punishment is exile. Does it matter where I go, so long as I am gone? This is so casual. Yeah, I'll take the exiles off your hands. I would be honored to have Sir Schnee join me. Yeah, so she should come with me. I turn to Sir Schnee. I think it's really noble of you to defend your knight like that. I would be honored to have you join my cart and represent Michglas. Yang pulls me aside. Are you sure, Ruby? She seems a little stubborn. You're worried about someone being stubborn? Fair point. She's protecting someone she cares about, Yang. I raise my voice for all to hear. That's the kind of person I want on our side. I thank you for your trust. If my Duke consents, then I will join you. Are you certain that you want her, your Majesty? There are people who are equal in prowess and less recalcitrant. Sir Schnee scowls, but she doesn't disagree. I don't know what that word means, but I'm certain I'd like Weiss. And Lancelin, too. Agravain the Violet. Please, Commander, take us along as well. Turning away from her, I'm surprised to find 6 of Sir Schnee's knights staring back at me, a determined look in their eyes. Sir Schnee speaks up before I can say anything, though. You fools, think of your families. What purpose would going into exile serve? Safer the Indigo. They know we are sworn to you with more than words. They will understand. You need people you can trust at your back. Who better than us? The last bit is directed at the Duke, as if daring him to say something. The Duke does not, but simply stares at us in silent disapproval. Just get out of my sight. Sir Schnee's mouth, opening for a retort, clicks shut. She seems a bit resigned, but eventually nods. Do you need to make any preparations? Say goodbye? Tristan the Citrine. We have already taken care of that, Commander. Already? You assumed I was going to fail, Tristan? At that, all the knights shift about on their feet, sheepish, but they don't dare to look away. You do tend to take on tasks with very slim chances of success, Commander. You... Gallius the Gold. Never mind that, Commander. You can only carry what's on your back, but we'll gather the things from your quarters and meet you there. The Knight in Gold grins down at Weiss, looking positively roguish. And admit it, you'd miss us, wouldn't you? Sir Schnee scowls, but somehow it seems a little softer as she glares at all her knights. Don't think we're finished discussing this. The knights ignore her tone, only snapping a salute. As you say, Commander. There's a flurry of activity as her knights and a handful of squires ready themselves for departure, marching out of the doors and away from the arena. Yang taps me on the shoulder. Ruby, where are they gonna stay? There's some empty barracks and stables. I figure we'll house them there for now and build more if we need to. Sir Schnee can stay at the castle since she's the formal representative. Already thinking ahead, Your Majesty. An escort returns us back to the portals after snapping the shackles from Lancelin's wrists. The Duke stops Sir Schnee before she goes through. And what shall I tell your father when he returns from the expedition to the mines? She gives him a scornful look. That I've made his decision for him, and my sister is the sole remaining heir. And then she is gone. I find I can't look properly at the Duke's face in her wake, and so only offer him a small bow before passing through the portal. I stumble when I land back home just outside the Curia walls. I barely avoid falling flat on my face. Lancelin and Sir Schnee are already there. The young knight has their commander's hands clasped tightly in between their own. Commander. Don't start. I know you'd have done the same for me. She gives Lancelin hands a squeeze before pulling close in an embrace. It's short, but heartfelt. Stepping away, Lancelin looks from Sir Schnee to myself, visibly blinking away tears. Your Majesty, I must at least give you my thanks. We couldn't just let them kill you, Sir Lancelin. I'd have nightmares. As Sir Schnee is bound to you in service, so am I. I'm an exile of Michglas, but trained as a mage knight, and I would be honored to be your knight if you'd have me. Of course, I'd love that. A few mages arrive there to greet me, and I'm told that Glinda is still managing the great portal that lies within the Curia walls. I shakily wonder if I should wait here or head back to the castle when Sir Schnee's knights begin making their way through. They're already making comments, apparently uncaring that we can hear them. We're going to boil here if we're not careful. Well, these people seem to manage, even with such primitive engineering. They must be exceptionally hardy. Don't press any of the locals into being your guinea pigs, Agravain. Bedwyr the Scarlet. But what if I ask them really nicely? Stop. We're not going to get ourselves exiled from 2 kingdoms in one day. Ooh, Sir Safer. Is that a challenge? However will we manage to resist? Sir Schnee, who'd been surveying the land, looks back to her people. The first syllable off her tongue has them all at attention. Let's get started in first. We can handle any issues as they come. Yes, the Commander. Gawain the Emerald. Glinda approaches from inside the Curia, magic still humming around her before she whisks it away. A success, then. The Duke sends his knights? Yep. Sort of. I'll explain it later. For now, I turn to Sir Schnee and her knights. I wonder if they're worried about leaving Michglas or joking around to hide their fear. They might never return home. For now, our new guests will need somewhere to stay. Also, Vale is much hotter than Michglas. We'll have to find them more appropriate gear before someone gets heat stroke. Of course, we can make space for them in the barracks. They're not the most luxurious of quarters, but I hope they will be acceptable. The knights nod their agreement. Wait, what about Sir Schnee? Glinda appraises Weiss. And you are? I'm Sir Weiss Schnee, Knight Commander of the Knights Offaland. At your queen's request, I am to join the council as the representative of Michglas. We do have a few rooms available in the castle. Would you like to take one for yourself, or would you prefer to stay with your people? Weiss doesn't answer immediately. You should stay in the castle with us. As you know, a protector. There's an empty room right down the hall from mine. I am flattered by your regard, Queen Ruby, but I should stay with my knights. She bows to Glinda. The barracks will be perfectly sufficient. The next few days are spent in frenetic activity. The mages have begun re-establishing the portals to Michglas, allowing humans to travel to and fro with relative ease. Ozpin tells me it's probably a good idea to hold off on opening another portal until I have time to recover my energy. Blake and I are also hard at work uncoiling the mysteries of the Grimm together in the library. I make sure everything is well documented, though Blake is reticent regarding her Grimbone weapons. I'm sure she'll open up with time. The lessons with Glinda continue nightly, seeking to test the limits of my abilities and possibly discover new ones. My head is so crammed full of information that I'm too exhausted for nightmares, though thankfully those seem to be abating with the meditation techniques Ozpin helps me learn. Tonight, I hope my 3 court members will join me. Yang knows the gist of it, but I want Blake and Weiss to know about me as well. About Crescent Rose. I decide to invite them personally, heading to see Ser Schnee first. Okay, I think this is a good point to take a break, as I think we're probably over the hour limit right now. And yeah, I think this was a very interesting episode. We met the Duke of Michglas, we also met Weiss, and in that last scene, before everyone went through the portal back to the Curia, we learned that Weiss has a sister, Winter. She is in the game. As to whether we'll see her or not, that is yet to be seen. We also learned that Weiss's father is having an expedition of sorts down to the mines, no doubt something to do with dust. And now she is one of Ruby's newest court members, which means all of the 4 main Ruby girls are now serving in the same court in the same castle, which is exciting. I'm really looking forward to what happens from here on out, because it seems that we have passed a major plot point in the story, and things should be really picking up from here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Ruby Summer Rose Court. Until then. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and a comment, and if you want to stay up to date with future content, you can subscribe and click the little bell icon to receive notifications of new uploads.